Welcome to Dynamic Life Perspectives, guidance for a new age. We're going to have a good time figuring out who you are, what you really want, and how to get there. Together, we're going to find your heart. Now, here's your host, the Reverend Rob Lee.
Once you make spirituality a contest, I think you lost, right?
Exactly. You're not. So I think you're 100% correct. And some of that, again, is discerning our own, who we are, where are we going, what we're going to do. I have cards here. One of the things it talks about, in this neat cult, a lantern oracle thing that I use, it talks about there's only 4 cards in this. What do I need clarity on? And you say what? Working with Laura, working with Rob. And there's the first thing is, what am I not seeing? There's discernment. It starts out. What am I supposed to be learning from this? And there's 2 others, and I can't, again, I'm old, so I can't remember them all right off my head. I always have it open.
No, it's not that you're old. It's just that you have so much in there that it takes a while to sift it through.
Yeah. Talk to my ex.
See, now here's what I like. So whenever somebody asks me about my age, whenever somebody says, "Oh, how old are you?" Right, people cringe and they lie about their age. They take away 5 or 10 years, right? No, do the opposite. Give yourself an extra 5 years, right? Because I look really good for 57.
Yeah, I look great for 70.
Right?
And, the gray hair. And for a while, I told you, I don't know if you saw my shows back then or not, I was shaved my head. None of this was here. All I had was this. And I was thinking about going back that way again. And but I'm like, you know what? Let's let the world see the other me. Because over Christmas, I was playing Santa Claus, and the beard was out to here, and the kids loved me. And I would
that's good.
at the restaurant, and they wouldn't even know, and then you'd see them over to parents, is that, and I'm like, be good, do whatever. And everybody would crack up. But it was one of those things where even our own, how we look, discern it. One of the things I decided I need to lose weight. I'm overweight, as before all the judgmental people start, as 90-something% of America is.
Right.
But I'm making this decision not because I disbelieve in Santa Claus or joy. I'm not going to embrace the jolly old fat guy persona this year because I need something different for myself. And these are the discerning things. I enjoyed working with the kids, but I didn't enjoy people coming up to me in February. Oh, it's Santa.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So be careful. What are you trying to portray, even in your look? How your countenance, different things. And I love the topic of discernment because it can go in so many directions, but I think we're led down this path. Most people don't know how to discern themselves.
I think you're right.
And I think that's key.
Yeah. And so here's the question.
Yes, ma'am.
How do we learn how to discern ourselves? How do we learn how to find, is it finding our soul purpose? Is it figuring out what we truly like or dislike based on the data around us? Right? How do I discern who I am?
One of the things when I'm talking to different people, one of the first questions I would ask them in therapy a lot of times was, who are you? And I did this, and I had somebody, a little bitty Hindu man, while I was at a spiritual festival, things like that, walked up to me and he went, who are you? And he just picked me out of hundreds of people at that point. And I said, my name's Rob. No, who are you? I said, well, and I catch on pretty quick. And I went, well, I'm a dad. Yeah, no. Who are you? And after about 10 minutes, we walked over. He didn't ask me for a dime. We sat down. And and I said, well, okay, at that point, what was I doing? Oh, I I'm a opioid counselor, help run. No, that's what you do for a living. Who are you? And he said, you got close. And finally I looked and we got down to it and I went, I'm a teacher. I'm a guide. I'm a healer. Now you know who you are. Where do you go with that? And in that instant, I'm instantly rethinking my whole life, my path. And this is, I hate for people to have this happen at 50 rather than at 30, at 40 or 20 or whatnot, until you can determine that. When I'm talking to people, particularly parents with children at home, one of the ways I'll lead into it, and I want you can ask yourself this question, or I'll ask you.
Okay.
What do you like to do for fun?
Right.
All right. And from most parents, I get that, I don't know anymore.
I don't know anymore, right? It's been so long. No.
Being a parent,
Yeah.
being a homemaker, has become such that's their identity.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not, you don't even know what you like to do. And I was there.
Yeah. And it's how do you bring joy back into your life, right?
You got to find, it starts with simple steps. What do I like to do to have fun?
Mm-hmm.
I like to
Even
paint.
if it's just being outside. That's my favorite thing, is to be outside.
There you go. And when you're outside, what do you like to do? Because
Nature, it's all about nature for me.
I can get people outside, but if they're taking their phone outside and still running through their task list, you've defeated the purpose. You've changed your scenery and got a little bit of vitamin D, but you haven't, the whole point is, and I ask for people for 20 minutes out of the day, 20 minutes. It's called my 20-minute challenge. Get up 20 minutes early, not a half hour, because I know that's just completely painful and unthought of. Okay. 20 minutes. Get your shower, get dressed. If you smoke, get everything ready, get your cup of coffee, and sit down. No phone, no kids, none of the outside interference, because now you've built yourself in 20 minutes. You're dressed, you're ready to go to work. So you're not sitting there going, if you're like me, oh, because I got to be punctual to everything I'm at. If I'm 10 minutes, if I'm on time and I'm not 10 minutes early, I'm late. So, but to take that moment and just breathe and go through some of the mindfulness exercises that I teach, so you can start going, wait a minute, and hear and listen. What's your mind telling you? What's your brain telling you? Meditation takes all forms. And I despise it. We need to learn to meditate. Okay, teach me. And how many times has somebody said, well, I can't do. Yeah, I can. I can teach you. Did anybody ever show you how? Because a lot of the steps begin with just being mindfulness for a moment, and you expound on it.
And it can be, your meditation can be 30 seconds. It doesn't matter.
Right.
There are those that, sit on a mountaintop for, months on end meditating. I'm not sure why, but that's, I don't have the patience for that, but whatever.
Well, a lot of times they're escaping anyways,
Right. It's not living life.
Yeah.
But the ability to meditate gets us centered, right? It gets us listening to God's source, right? Listening to the spiritual realms, so to speak. And I always advise it in my work, clearing things. I use salt a lot because salt cleanses in all dimensions.
Yes.
And clearing your space, just visually, just closing your eyes and visualizing yourself pouring salt on you or around you, it cleans and clears. It's a spiritual practice. Okay. Doctors have practices, lawyers have practices. We should have them, right? Why not? Yeah. And
I'm with you. And you know what I'd like for us to talk about sometime? This whole phenomena of empaths. Okay. Which will take us down a whole complete thing.
I'm making a note here.
Good topic for you and I. You're going to make a note? Okay.
Oh yeah, totally. Because I could go off for hours.
You and me both. So, there we go. And you're right. It's just one of those things where, what is meditation? Really, it's being in the moment and just listening for a minute to what's going on in your body, what somebody's trying to tell you, What different things are speaking to us all the time. We ask for help and guidance or whatnot, then we don't listen. You know, and I make jokes, and I do believe God, Jesus, whatever, has a sense of humor. You know, so they know, they take me, and not as being sacrilegious, but trying to get people to understand. Jesus spoke in parables. Do you imagine Jesus walked all across Egypt, everywhere he went, all of his travels with this group of guys? Okay, and can you imagine that one of them didn't trip on their sandals? And Jesus went, what went on there? You know, how'd that feel? Do we need a little healing? You know, are you the lame guy? What's, you know, there was laughter, there was joking, there was, and we need to get that back because our brain stays so busy. And I think we've been indoctrinated that way that, you know, idle hands and idle mind, you know, it's the devil's playground. Actually, if you're not careful, being too busy, not giving time for your spiritual self, the devil loves it because he can slip little bits and
Oh yeah.
demons can come in. You know, we all want to talk about the airy fairy, there's all this great love and light. Well, wherever there's light, there's a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when we say we're working in shadow, and I know you work in shadow a lot, it doesn't mean we're in league with Lucifer or those.
Oh, can I tell you how many people would accuse me of working for the devil because I'm clearing the demonic, the dark stuff out of people and places?
But they don't understand the concept. And that's a lot of what we're dealing with tarot, with oracle cards. And that's a little lot. Even Baptist, Methodist, the conservative right, the religious right don't understand. That's the concept that other people have about religion, because everything's been done with so much hate, so much, I can't, you know, wrong.
You know, I am a firm believer in Jesus and all of the great masters. Absolutely. But one of the things I've always noted and wondered, it's like, it seems like more people have died in the name of God than anything else, right?
You know,
what if we shift the way we think about this?
And that's what people don't realize is you got to stop and think, you know, how much death and destruction has been caused on this planet prior to the United States. And
oh yeah,
but in the name of Christianity,
these dark forces have created these pre-programmed beliefs.
Yes, and they're all doing it in the name of good, and a lot of these people think they're doing good.
This is discernment.
The heads off, you know, of somebody else who doesn't believe the way they do.
Right. And what if, and again, this goes back to the spiritual discernment. This is where I have a lot of issues because people aren't thinking. The concept of reincarnation was taken out of the Bible. I can't remember what you'll know more than me, but 562 AD. I can't remember exactly.
Right.
But when the concept of reincarnation was taken out of the Bible, it's like, oh, you got one shot to get it right, so you better listen to me, right? So now we've entered fear into the equation. So what if we look at our religious doctrines and religious texts and beliefs with a discerning eye? Does it ring true for you? And one of the things that I come across all the time in my work, because I basically am a traipse through the bowels of hell all the time, that
going through some pretty wild stuff, you know.
Oh, I go deep and hard. I may not look like it, but I go deep and hard.
Yeah.
And the concept that a bad person should rot in hell, that is a pre-programmed belief. Who gave us that concept? Right. And I say that because when a bad person, quote unquote, rots in hell for eternity, who has access to that soul? Not the God source. The dark side does. And the dark side can reincarnate us just as much as the light side can. So somebody like Jeffrey Epstein, should we allow him to create a new underworld army, right? Or do we cross him over because he's left his physical body? Karmically, he needs to go back home to the higher realms, to heaven. In my house, there are many mansions. People hear me say that all the time.
Right.
For a reason. So what if we start looking at these religious pre-programmed beliefs that are based on hate and destruction, and we shift it? We can actually shift the energy of the planet.
We could, we really could. And you know, you're kind of leading into a thing of one of the passages in James that I read this morning, is it talks about those people that quote the law. Okay. But they skip one key component. If I'm going to accuse you of breaking a portion of God's law, all right, but I in turn break a law, no matter what it is, how big or how small, I am guilty of breaking all laws. And you're like, well, wait a minute. No, because what God talks about is the law. I don't care how big or how small, okay? We were born with that thing. So how do we get back away from that and stop doing this? And again, you know what? I got to let Laura worry about her actions, and I worry about mine. And what I do is I'm going to sit down and say, you know, instead of going, God, Laura's wrong, please show her her way. God, Laura and I had this conversation today. Am I wrong? Let's start there.
Or is there a blend? Right?
Yeah, show me where, you know, what's going on. It gets back to that listening to understand, okay? And not just spewing out of your mouth. And that's the biggest thing. People are reacting today. And that is a big part of it. I think, like you said, we can fix a lot of things by just slowing down and going, wait a minute. God said, love everybody. You know, when he had a prostitute at the well, everybody wanted him to do something, but it was a test of Jesus. But people don't realize he was led there, and then everybody's like, see, she's got 5 wives, blah, 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 5 husbands. You know, he was being tested to see what he's going to do. So his answer was very smart. Pick up a rock. He who is out first stone, or without sin, cast the first stone. And everybody went away. They didn't know what to do with that.
Right.
Because again, one of the problems we're going through in humanity, as I see it right now, is humans weight sin or wrongdoing or experiences. Humans weight what they are diametrically opposed to versus, you know, last time I checked, if we talked about any robbery, murder, you know, any of the big ones, okay? And we all know some people will pick other things to say that person's a sinner. Well, last time I checked, gluttony is a sin too. You know, going back once too often at Golden Corral is not what we're supposed to do. Okay?
Yeah.
God says it's equally as bad.
Well, let's see. Here's a thought, and I talk a lot about with my clients. A lot of this is that, what if we replace the concept of sin with an experience? Because we've been pre-programmed to believe that we are sinners, right?
Right.
Sin evokes guilt, blame, and shame. It lowers our frequency. I think it also disconnects us to God, because all of a sudden we're not worthy. But what if we start talking about replacing that word sin with experience? I had this experience. I learned this, da, 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 or I keep having the same experiences because I'm not learning, right?
Right.
And then if the experience is something, and I have just this wonderful, wonderful client. He's a wonderful dad. He grew up in a Southern Baptist, brimstone and fire kind of thing, and he's questioning God and this type of stuff. And he is afraid he's going to burn in hell for questioning these beliefs. And he's thinking that he's this huge sinner. Well, what if he's questioning these beliefs to shift his family patterns? What if he's having these experiences? What if it's just an experience? Because we don't live a perfect life here. And the degree of experience can be different. It could be, you know, I ran a red light and I hit somebody, or I was drunk driving and I hit somebody, right?
Right.
The intention is so different. The ability to atone and to learn and to make amends is huge. I had another client a number of years ago who, as a teenager, she and her friends were goofing off in a car and they hit another car head on. One person, her best friend died, and her other best friend will never be the same.
Right.
And I can't even imagine the guilt, right? All the way down the family line, the friends, right? But this kid ended up doing something amazing. She looked at how her actions affected the families, right? It just echoed out. And she realized that she was the cause of this accident. She has her life that she can live normal, right? But her friend is dead. Her other friend is basically a quadriplegic. I think she can use one arm partially. And she's taking this and she is learning how to be a physical therapist to help other people in this situation. Now, as horrible as that was, if she could do it over, she would do it over in a heartbeat, right?
Right.
But she's taking that experience and she's atoning for it. She's paying it forward so she can help other people. And she does a lot of volunteer work in this area as well. So karmically, she's trying to balance things out. We don't know their agreement, their soul contracts. We don't know.
Right.
Maybe it was supposed to happen, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It's not mine to judge. But the fact that she can take this absolutely horrid experience and not turn to drugs and not turn to alcohol, not commit suicide, but to move it forward speaks volumes of her integrity and her will.
And you know what? I don't understand, we are all flawed. That's what, if we go by scripture, that's what scripture says. That's why we need something in our lives, and we need to discern for ourselves who we are and whatnot. When we say this experience, what I want us to be careful of is taking response. Are we trying to tone down that what I did was right or wrong?
Oh, absolutely. But this is a part of that wisdom and discernment.
But like what happens here, there are many things in our life we do not have control of. All right. But the one thing we do have control of is how I react or respond to the things that I don't have control of. All right. And that's a lot of times that's where we become downtrodden, because either our self-worth goes in the toilet, like you said, we start we don't have a place to go. Wait a minute. I have no doubt. I don't think anybody ever got in a car drunk thinking I'm going to kill somebody, unless they were going after a spouse or something. I'm not saying there isn't premeditated, but the whole idea of I got in a car and I hurt somebody. Let's just begin. Was it intentional? No, it wasn't. Okay. But was I at fault? So we have to start looking at some of that. And that is where, what do you have to fall back on? Where can you go? Okay, you're right. These things people happen, okay, that happen to people, or they take actions and then they regret them later. They can ask for forgiveness, they can atone, they can do whatever. But I go back to the give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. They still have to stand accountable for their actions by the law. And I think that's where we're kind of getting away from. And again, I'll blame this on parents. My kid's in trouble. He did this, but because it's my kid, now my heart bleeds and I don't want him to go through the full ramifications of his actions or her actions. So we started shifting that. All of a sudden it became rehabilitation instead of, we have punishment, penal, the penal system. Well, okay, we can rehabilitate, but at the same point, there's still a responsibility to society and to law that you pay for your actions.
Absolutely.
That's where some of that comes in. And that's what I want people to realize. You made a huge mistake. Things are bad. Okay. And it's why I truly admire a lot of jailhouse ministers, because they're like, they don't look at, kind of like me looking at a drug addict. I don't see a drug addict. I see a person that needs love, needs attention. And sometimes it's tough love. Okay. But they need support. Doesn't mean I've got to take them in or enable them. Okay.
Right.
But contrary to a lot of public opinion, let them be homeless, leave them out on the street. No. You know, I'll leave you on the street, but I want you to know there's a better way. There's a better path. If there's something we can do to help you on your path and recoup, you don't have to live your life this way. And it's one of the reasons I started doing some of the things I do, because I want people to understand, in this day of negativity, screaming, yelling, violence, whatever, it's okay to be happy. And there are people here, such as you, that are willing to help people find a little bit of peace and happiness. And when that happens for you, it does. It's how you meet the world, and it changes how you meet things.
And enjoy it, right? Don't feel guilty about it.
No. If you apologize, if you truly apologize, you don't, there are certain things you can't make up for. There's no way you can atone for them, but you can truthfully say, I'm sorry. You can apologize.
Yeah.
One of the things I'll caution people here, and I caution a lot of people, is be careful about apologizing for things to get the guilt off of you and make yourself feel better, rather than being truly sorry. And I use an example. Guy cheats on his wife and he feels guilty, and he fesses up, here's what I did. Is he really fessing up to tell his wife, here's what I did, and I apologize, and now I'm subject myself to or 9 times out of 10, you hear, I'm sorry. Now, please don't be mad at me. Don't leave me. Don't go away. Okay. You didn't do that for repentance. You did that to make yourself feel better because you got tired of carrying that weight of guilt around.
Yep. Very true. So. Spiritual bypassing in a way, right?
Yes, absolutely. Great way to put it.
This was awesome. By the way, you made me realize what I need to do. So at my studio, there's the abs challenge this month. So doing the abs, right? But also you have to change one habit. And I'm like, what can I change? What can I change? Okay. So my habit is going to be, I am not going to answer any emails the first hour I'm awake.
And it's little things. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? Because I'm racking my brain. What can I do? And it's like, you know what? I'm not answering emails.
Yeah.
For the first hour I'm awake for this month, I'm not answering emails for the first hour.
And, it takes me back to one of the things my dad said when call waiting came in. And as you're even younger than me, okay, I remember when call waiting, I thought it was the coolest thing. My dad, Baptist minister, had this in common with George Carlin, okay, which I always thought was absolutely irony, okay, he called it call rude. Oh, wait a minute. Might be somebody more important than you on the phone.
There you go.
We won't even get out. And you said a while back, as technology, we never stop to think about, should I carry my phone with me into the grocery store? Why? I don't enjoy listening to somebody else's conversation while I'm walking around. I'm pretty sure they don't enjoy mine. Especially now that I look.
Depends on the juiciness of the conversation.
Well, yeah, especially now that I'm one of those old farts that speakerphone, hello, like the insurance ad, and I'm having a big lunch, with a salad for dinner. You know what? I challenge people. Go to the store 30 minutes without your phone.
Mm-hmm. The game changer, right?
Yeah. What if? I'll answer your own question with a question. What if?
Right.
There's a whole slew of generations that survived without being contactable every minute, every
Millisecond.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does, it's freeing. It starts to free you. You know, go into the, you know, how many people you see that will actually run into the store, they realize they left their phone in the car, and they'll stop, come back to the car to go into 7-Eleven. And you're like, how long are you planning on being in there? Yeah. You know, so yes, that's a good thing for you. 20 minutes in the, and again, the 20-minute challenge. You know what? I'm going to get up 20 minutes early.
Oh, I already get up early enough.
I hear you. Okay. But
That's not a problem, sadly.
boundaries. I am going to set a boundary for myself that for the first hour of my day, there's nothing here that's life shattering that's going to change, or that, you know, I want to focus on me for a little bit,
Yeah.
focus on my family, focus on whatever. So yeah, you know, grab something that uplifts you. Take a moment. And I will end with this, with that, and I think it's a great thing. Growing up as a Baptist preacher's kid, I could always kind of catch, because I grew up in the church. So I knew the gospel pretty good just by absorption, okay, and having read, went to a private school, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But I heard a minister say one time, how do you tell if I'm telling the truth if you don't study the very book you're asking me to teach you out of? Discernment. Take some time. How can you discern what you believe about God if you're not even putting anything about the God of your understanding in your life? Affirmations, whatever that may be. If you want to be spiritual, nobody wants to be religious anymore. Everybody wants to be spiritual. What spirituality are you bringing in your life to learn who you are?
Absolutely.
Start by, you know what? Instead of answering emails, I'm going to take an hour.
Right. We'll see what tomorrow morning brings. Love you, love you, love you. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. There we go. There we go.
Yeah. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Reverend Rob. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for us to get on with more conversations, because this
Oh, me too. I already wrote the one conversation down. I can't wait for this one because I got a lot to say.
all right. Good deal. You know, I used to have a thing that I ended with my other sessions or whatnot. I don't know if I want to give it up, called bangerang. And we yelled bangerang. And bangerang is that, and we call ourselves the Barefoot Bangerang Tribe. Get grounded. And remember, whatever you're putting out there is what you're going to get back. And so bangerang, and I got that from the movie Hook, because he had to find himself again. Peter Pan had grown up, and he had to find himself again and find his magic so he could find his wings and fly. And that's what, so I encourage everybody, bangerang. Remember, a lot of times what we put out is a stimulus because of what we put in. So
Wonderful. Wonderful.
you have a great and wonderful day.
You too. Yes, I'm gonna go do some kickboxing here in a little bit. So
Ooh, there you go. There you go. All right. Well, thank you very much.
all right. Have a good one. Thanks, Rob.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.